Hey guys, your Tech Admin here. In my last video, I showed off my entire old laptop collection. And in this video, I'm going to be going through them one by one and booting them up just to see what software is actually on them. Now some of these I have a pretty good idea, and other ones I haven't touched in so long that I have no idea what they're running. So we'll start here with the oldest one first. This is my Satellite Pro T2155 CDS. And before we actually get to the boot up, I want to talk about some of the peripherals this laptop came with, or maybe I should say this single peripheral. So this is the external floppy drive. Now this laptop was a little ahead of its time when it came out because it had a built-in CD-ROM drive, which is over here on the side. Now this was a relatively new thing when this laptop came out, and floppy disks were still by large the primary means for storing data. So it has this external floppy drive, and that just connects right over here on the side. You see that little proprietary port right there, and this actually plugs right into it like that. And now you have your floppy drive. It's a little inconvenient, but CD-ROMs were seen as the future at that point in time. So of course they were kind of like trying to future-proof the laptop by having it have a built-in CD-ROM drive. But anyway, that's it for the peripherals. So let's go ahead and plug it in. Remember, this one has the built-in power supply. So all we have to do is plug this regular AC power cable into the back, and we are ready to go. We've got a LED illuminator there to show that it's plugged in. There is no battery in this laptop, but if we open this up, we can see where the battery would have gone. I believe it took a nickel metal hydride battery. I had it at one point, but it's long since been thrown away. We'll close that back up. I guess now you could probably store something in there. Anyway, let's go ahead and switch it on. I got a little indicator that shows it's on. Hard drive activity light. Got something on screen, and ooh, that doesn't sound good. So the hard drive indicator is lit solid, and there's a slight clicking. And nothing is going on screen. I think the hard drive may be dead. That is unfortunate, but that's something that happens with old hardware like this. It could fail at any time. So it really doesn't surprise me. I didn't know this hard drive had gone bad, but yeah, that's a little upsetting. Especially because this is one of the machines that I was pretty sure I had set up perfectly with Windows 3.1.1. I actually put a lot of work into it from what I remember, so that's a little upsetting that it's dead, but that's just the way it is. So let's move on to the next one. Next up is my Toshiba Tecra 500CS, and just like the previous one, this one has a peripheral that I want to talk about, and it's another external drive. But this one is a little fancier. As you can see, it's quite a bit bigger than just the regular external floppy drive was. And that's because you can actually swap the external floppy drive into the machine in place of the internal CD drive. So just like I showed before, if you press this over and then press this in and twist it up, it ejects the CD-ROM drive. You can pull that out just like so, and then on the back of this here drive you've got a button, but you've also got to press this little switch in first. I'll see if I can do it with one hand. It's a little difficult. No, I'm gonna have to set the camera down. Alright, so once you've managed to work that mechanism, you can actually see the drive has popped out some, so I'll go ahead and pull it the rest of the way out. And it just slides on out of there, and then you can slide it straight into the machine, just like so. And then you simply lock it into place, like that, and you're set with an internal floppy drive instead of a CD-ROM drive. Now you'd think that you could also put the CD-ROM drive into the external enclosure and use it that way, and it does fit, obviously, but it does not work. You can only attach the floppy drive that way. I assume it's because Yeah, here you go. CD-ROM drive will not function in this case. I believe it's because it doesn't provide enough power to run the CD-ROM drive, as opposed to the floppy drive, which probably takes less power. Anyway, now that we've done that, let's go ahead and plug it in. This one uses the same, just regular AC power cable like the last one, because it's got the power supply built in. So we will plug it in right here. We get a power and battery indicator on the front. So let's open her up. And I'm gonna find the power button. Hiding from me. There it is. We'll power it on. Of course, the CMOS battery is dead. Hit F1 to continue. And if we hit end, we should be able to just accept the defaults. I'm not going to waste time setting the clock or anything like that. We'll see what this one does. Now, I think this one had Windows 95 installed on it the last time I checked. Oh, it's rebooted. Okay, so now it's going through this self-test. Alright, so we've got 16 megs of RAM, not bad. Yep, there we go, starting Windows 95. So this one does have Windows 95 on it. I wonder if the sound is going to work. To set up your new hardware, you must restart the computer now. We're going to select no, and just let it boot up for the moment. I don't know where the volume adjustment is on this thing. There it is. Just want to turn it all the way up. It doesn't look like the sound is working. But other than that, it does appear to work. So let's go ahead and open the start menu. Yep, that's working. Very nice. Let's right click my computer and see if we can get to the system properties dialog. There we go. And there you go. Registered for me. It's got an Intel Pentium processor with 16 megs of RAM. Very much a Windows 95 machine. These are very common specs for a Windows 95 era machine. Alright, let's move on to the next machine. Alright, next up is my Toshiba 2100 CDS. There are no peripherals that I have to show off for this one because it has both the floppy drive and the CD-ROM drive built in. So we'll go ahead and jump straight to the boot up. Now, unlike the previous two, this one does actually have a power brick, as you can see here. And I do have the original Toshiba power brick for it. So we'll go ahead, plug that into the back. Where's it plug in at? Right here. Oh, it slides everywhere when I try to plug it in. There we go, we've got power there. Let's open it up. There we go, and the power button's on the side, just like all these old Toshiba laptops. Turn that on. Some indicators. I'm gonna make sure the volume is turned up. Oh, it sounds like this. Alright, so we've got a bad CMOS battery again, of course. So we'll skip that. End. Yes. The CD-ROM drive just ejected itself. I don't know why I did that. This one has Windows 98 on it, just like you'd expect. So let's see if everything works. Nice. So the sound does work on this machine. And just as expected, it's running Windows 98. It looks like I actually installed the Plus editions too, because we've got the different icons here. Let's go ahead and pull up these system properties as my ice maker makes tons of noise in the background. So this one does have the AMD K6-2 processor. Alright, so this is just an AMD K6, not the K6-2. And it's got 64 megs of RAM. So there you have it. It's Windows 98 2nd edition. And that glow you see up at the top of the screen, that red glow, that's not just on the camera. I see that in person too, although it's not as intense in person. If you tilt the screen up a little bit, it does go away, as you can see. But I think that's just that's just the screen, and it's not a very good screen. I think this is what's called a passive matrix display. And the thing about these displays is they have tons of ghosting, as you can see from my mouse. I don't believe the mouse pointer trail is turned on. I think that is just how bad the display is with as far as ghosting goes. So that's just a good example of how far LCD technology has progressed since these laptops were new. But that's it for this laptop. So let's move on to the next one. Next up is my Toshiba 4030 CDT. This one is very similar in design to the previous one. We even have the floppy drive and the CD-ROM drives in the same place. So these are very similar designs, although this one does have a thinner display, and I think it may be actually a little bigger. But like I said in my previous video, this one has issues with the hinges. As you can see, it just wants to fall down. So that's an unfortunate thing. It does have stickers on it. So this one's got an Intel Celeron, and it's designed for Windows 98 or Windows NT. NT 4.0 is what it's referencing. So let's go ahead and plug it in first before I try to turn it on. That might actually help. So I've got the power cable here. Let's close it. Let's see which side does it plug in on. This side again. And it slides everywhere again. So there we go. Got it plugged in. A power indicator there. So now let's try to power it on. And here we go. I'm guessing the CMOS battery is going to be dead. Yes, it is. That is very loud. So F1. End. Yes, accept the defaults. Volume is turned up. And you're starting Windows. So this one has Windows 2000 installed. So that is the incorrect version of Windows for this laptop. And that is one thing that I'm going to aim to correct. So this is the first time we've run into a laptop that has the wrong OS on it out of my collection thus far. Although the first laptop technically didn't work at all, but the previous two have had correct installations of Windows. This one has a newer version than what it's supposed to. So my next video after these videos is to actually go through these laptops and install and configure the correct versions of Windows for each one. So the first laptop is probably unfortunately going to have to find a new hard drive for that one first, but it's going to get Windows 3.1.1. And this laptop here, the next that is not correct, is going to get Windows 98. Or NT 4.0, since the sticker does say NT. But I think Windows 98 would be more fitting for this machine. Even though I do have NT 4.0 installation disks. Go ahead and hit OK. Basically my goal is, with this video, is to go through. That is a lovely startup sound. Anyway, my idea with this video is to go through and kind of see what's on each laptop, so that for my next series of videos I can go through and concentrate on the ones that are incorrect and get them back in correct factory working order. So I've kind of neglected my laptop collection here for a while. There's properties here. As you can see, this machine has absolutely no ghosting unlike the previous machine, and that's because this actually has the active matrix display instead of the passive. So it's much better. So anyway, we have a x86 Family 6 Model 6 Stepping 10. I don't know exactly which processor that is, but it is a Celeron of some description. And we have 196 kilobytes of RAM, which is 196 megs effectively. And it's running Windows 2000 Service Pack 4, which is the incorrect version of Windows. So this will be the subject of one of my next videos. We will be installing Windows 98 on this machine and setting that up properly. And close this. I must say Windows 2000 does run pretty good on this machine, all things considered. Shut down, and okay. So now let's go ahead and look at the next machine. Alright, next up is my Fatepad 390X, and I actually do have the original power adapter for this one as well. I don't have any peripherals to show off, so we will go ahead and plug her in. I think it plugs in right here. Yep. This one does much better, it doesn't slide around. Now we will go ahead and unlatch it, which I have to do with 2 hands. So now let's go ahead and start her up. I think the power switch is on the side here, much like the previous Toshibas. We've got power. And let's see what it does. Oh no, that doesn't look good. So there is some sort of Linux installation on this machine. Now if I remember correctly, this is a Windows 98 era laptop, so it should have Windows 98 on it. So this is actually completely incorrect. So this is one of the machines we'll be focusing on in the upcoming videos. Well, it looks like it has Puppy Linux of some description installed on it. And apparently the last time it was shut down, it was not shut down properly. And I just ignore that and we'll let it boot the rest of the way up. There we have it. Puppy Linux completely booted up. Unfortunately, the track point on this laptop is actually broken. Not only is the nub missing, but the actual track point itself doesn't work. So even if I kind of put pressure on this, the cursor doesn't move. Fortunately, I do have a USB mouse, and this laptop does actually have a USB port. So I'll go ahead and get that plugged in, and we'll see what we can figure out about this. Alright, so I have my ancient Logitech optical mouse plugged in, which is pretty fitting for this machine. And now we can actually see the mouse cursor does move. Now this machine, as you can tell, does have an active matrix LCD on it, so that's actually not that bad. But since it's running the wrong version of, or not just the wrong version, but the wrong OS entirely, we're going to have to work on this machine. So let's go ahead and go down here and power off the computer. Alright, next up is my Compaq Presario 1200. And unfortunately, I don't actually have the correct power adapter for this machine, but I do have this Toshiba power adapter, which is close enough in specifications and has the right connector on the end to fit. So let's go ahead and plug it in. And let's see, it plugs in right here. There we go. This one actually didn't slide anywhere. And let's open her up. You can see here that the indicator did come on and the battery is flashing because the battery has long since failed in this machine. But this is the first with a trackpad, which is pretty nice. And there are no stickers to indicate it on this machine, but I'm pretty certain this is a Windows 98 machine simply by the styling. You know, this internet zone and all these internet feature buttons down here. So this is quite obviously Windows 98 era machinery here. But let's go ahead and power it on, see what it does. F1 to boot. Could do that. And oh no. Well, we may be in luck. It has Linux installed, but it looks like there is an entry for Windows as well. So let's see what that does. Oh, well, NT-loader is missing, so. Yeah, it looks like Linux may be the only thing installed on here. Let's reboot and see what it does. Booting the system, press escape for verbose mode. Okay, let's do that. Oh, that's actually quite nice with the transparency. Okay, so after waiting a good minute or two, here we are at the login screen. Unfortunately, I don't think I remember the credentials for this machine, but give me a minute and I'll see if I can get into it. It looks like I did manage to figure out the password. Now we're waiting for a desktop to show up. Alright, so after waiting absolutely forever, I did manage to get it to boot up. And everything appears to be working, even the trackpad. But as you can see from the screen, this laptop has one of those terrible passive matrix displays. So it's really awful to look at and use. But let's see if we can actually find some hardware specifications real quick. Well, after a very long time, I managed to get this application here open, which shows some information on the hardware. And as you can see, this one also has an AMD K6 processor. There's the family model and stepping and the frequency. So there you go. Also, this memory module right here says bad index. I don't know if there's something wrong with it or if it just doesn't know how to read it. But it's also got the video card listed there, which is a Cyberblade i7D. If you want to look up some information on that, you can. I don't really know what it is. But the one thing I've noticed is this machine runs very slowly. Like, it is awfully slow. So I don't know if it's just because this OS is too heavy, or if there's actually something wrong with it, or what the problem is. It could be an issue with the memory, but it is awfully slow. Next up is my Gateway Solo 5300, and this one actually does have something rather interesting. As you can see here, I have a floppy drive, and in the side of the machine, we have a CD-ROM drive, so they are swappable. So if you look here, there's a tiny little switch, and if you flip that this way, I believe it's kind of broken. I think it's supposed to latch one way or the other, but it really doesn't. But if you flip it this way, you can actually slide the CD-ROM drive out of the laptop, and then the floppy drive will slide right in its place. I say as it doesn't fit. Oh, I've got it in backwards. That makes sense. So, the floppy drive slides right in its place. So now if we flip it over, and unfortunately I don't have the right power supply for this. I thought I did, but I couldn't find it. But I do have this Toshiba power adapter that, again, is within the power specifications, and it fits and works. So we will make use of that. See there, it's flashing, which I think it's doing that because it's not happy with the battery. I'll try to power it on and see what it does. Yeah, for some reason, this laptop, even when I first had it, is not happy, it seems, until you reseat the battery. At which point it will charge the battery, which doesn't make sense. Let me reseat the battery real quick. Oh, actually that was enough. See there, now it's lit amber, which means the battery is charging. Which I believe these batteries do actually hold a charge as well. I have two of them, so one's in the laptop, and I've got another one here. You can see they are lithium-ion batteries, so actually they have the little power indicator on it. Let's see if I press it. Nope, that one has no charge, understandably. Anyway, let's go ahead and power it on. Now I'm fairly positive about what's on this laptop. It should be Windows NT 4 because a few videos ago I actually installed NT 4 on this laptop. And I don't believe I've done anything since then with it, so nothing should have changed. Alright, so it looks like the CMOS battery is dead in this laptop as well. We just hit F1 to resume. And there you go, Windows NT Workstation 4.0. So we have one processor with 64 megs of RAM. And we're running build 1381 Service Pack 6 of NT 4.0. And here you can see down the stickers we have a Intel Pentium 3 of some description. I don't know the specs on it. And this is actually designed for Windows 98. So this laptop will be the focus for one of my upcoming videos because we will be installing Windows 98 on this machine because that's what it is designed for. Let me go ahead and log into it and we'll check it out real quick. Alright, so it's telling us our date doesn't set correctly, but that's fine. And there you go. The audio doesn't appear to be working. I think that's one of the issues I have with this laptop. But other than that, it is functioning properly. Let's see here, we go to properties. And it is registered to me. And the information doesn't seem to be exact because it doesn't tell us which processor this actually is. But it does tell us it's Family 6, Model 8, Stepping 3, which if you look that up, I believe it'll tell you exactly what the processor is. And there we see our 64 megs of RAM. So there you go, that's this one. This one absolutely will need to have Windows reinstalled on it, so we will be seeing more of this laptop in the future. But as you can see, it does have a quite nice LCD display. Let's go ahead and shut her down. Yes. And we will move on to the final laptop. And finally we arrive at my newest old laptop. This is my Dell Latitude D600. And I actually do have the original power adapter for this one. It's laying down there because the cable's too short. But the nice thing about Dell is they standardized their laptop connectors like forever ago. So this connector works with this laptop all the way up to even some of their newest laptops they're coming out with today. As a matter of fact, at work, we just got a new shipment in of, what were they? They were Latitude E5580s, I believe. Brand new laptops from Dell, and they still use this same power connector. So good on Dell for standardizing, because a lot of laptop manufacturers were all over the place, and it makes things like finding your correct power adapter a pain in the neck. Anyway, let's get this plugged in and boot her up. So this one plugs in right over here. Just plug it in. This one slides around like the Toshibas. Come on, Dell. Alright, and let's see. This one also does have the stickers, so designed for Windows XP, and it's got an Intel Pentium M processor. And I'm positive that this one is correct. Here we go, booting up. You can see the nice PM logo there. Resuming Windows. Looks like it was hibernated the last time I messed with it. Good old Windows XP Professional. So this one is absolutely correct as far as version of Windows goes. So we will not be looking at this one in my upcoming videos. But this is a pretty decent laptop. And I think I talked about this briefly in my last video, but I am actually planning on putting this laptop into service again, because it does work quite flawlessly, and it has a lot of amenities that newer laptops have, like wireless networking and things of that matter. I have a trackpad, so I guess that's new. Main thing is it has wireless, so let's go ahead and check out the properties if we can. It is resuming from hibernation kind of slowly, but usually this laptop's pretty speedy. You can see it did actually connect to my Wi-Fi down there. Now let's see. So we'll go to properties. I'm trying to navigate by looking through the camera. Alright, there we go. So Windows XP Professional 2002. Got an Intel Pentium M processor at 1.6 gigahertz and 512 megs of RAM. And of course Windows XP. So this laptop is absolutely perfect. So that is it. That is all my laptops, and the ones you see sitting here are the ones that actually need to have something done to them. So let's move this right here. So this one here has Windows 2000 on it, and it needs to have Windows 98, as you can see there, or NT4 I guess, but I'd rather have Windows 98 on it for DOS games. So this one will be receiving a downgrade from 2000 to 98. These two have Linux of some description on them. They'll both be receiving Windows 98, because as far as I can tell, that's what these two machines originally shipped with. And this one has Windows NT4 on it, like we already know from our previous video, but it is also going to be receiving Windows 98. And I think this is going to be a damn good Windows 98 machine when it's done. Anyway guys, thanks for watching, and our next video is going to be concentrating on this Toshiba here, and then we'll move down the line to the IBM, then the Compaq, and then finally the Gateway. So we've got 4 videos lined up, all of them focused on old laptops, so if you're into that sort of thing, hang around and get ready for the upcoming videos. Anyway, Thanks for watching. Until next time, guys, take it easy.